So whenever Joe Biden, crazy Uncle Joe Biden, crazy Uncle Joseph, where am I? Joe Biden, whatever name you want to call him, maybe just call him Joe Biden. Anyways, anytime he tries to shift a direction on one of Trump's policies, especially foreign policy, he seems to go to the right of him. And this is happening now with Venezuela, which is really disgusting. And frankly, I'm glad that I don't live in any type of swing state, so I have no qualms about voting third party or not voting in this election because Joe Biden is not going to get rid of the military industrial complex. He's not going to get rid of the disastrous sanctions and all of these leftist leaning countries all around the world that disproportionately harm and impact the working class and the most marginalized groups in those countries. That's disgusting. He's not going to rein in multiple wars and bombing campaigns or the support of our various brutal dictatorships. Case in point, Venezuela. So it's a tweet from Joe. Trump talks tough in Venezuela, but admires thugs and dictators like Nicolas Maduro. As president, I will stand with the Venezuelan people for democracy. If Maduro was such a dictator, why would Juan Guaido not be in jail? Why would Maduro not have him murdered at this point? Because Guaido, multiple attempts with the full support and backing of the U.S. government, has tried to, stage a coup to oust the democratically elected Maduro regime. Doesn't seem like much of a dictator if he's not willing to actually, jail, prison, or murder, this political rival who is trying to throw him out of this democratically elected presidency, for fuck's sake. It's disgusting. You know what? The Venezuelan people, the working people of Venezuela, would probably like Joe Biden if the United States lifted their draconian sanctions that are ravaging the country right now, especially during the coronavirus pandemic. I read a story that the Trump sanctions on Venezuela made it so Venezuelan was having to pay 3 times the amount of other countries in order to get coronavirus testing kits. And so this is what he was pivoting on. New. President Trump suggested to Axios in an interview that he's had second thoughts about his decision to recognize Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela and said he's open to meeting with dictator Nicolas Maduro. And I don't know if Axios was using the dictator or if they were just, if that's something that Trump said. I mean, Trump is much more of a dictator from everything I've seen compared to Nicolas Maduro. And again, Juan Guaido is not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. He was not elected to the presidency. And the whole reason that the US and other governments like Canada and probably some European ones as well, I would assume, they want to recognize Juan Guaido as leader because he would allow, the country to be opened up to be, exploited by these multinational corporations. They would allow them to exploit the natural resources as well as the people of Venezuela to profit those, multinational corporations. And Maduro actually is, fairly leftist leader who wants to help the working people of his country. You wonder why the U.S. government wants to overthrow them. So again, Biden is trash. Trump is trash. Throw them both in the garbage. We need to actually get a viable third party that actually fights for policies and a platform that actually helps the working people of the United States and the working people of the globe as well. Because I mean, nobody is free until we all are free, and injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I think that was MLK. Don't quote me on that quote because I could be wrong, but just really, really disgusting. You know what? A much better response from Joe Biden would have been to say that, I'm glad that, Trump is deciding not to call Juan Guaido the legitimate leader of Venezuela because he's not. Nicolas Maduro is the democratically elected leader of Venezuela, and I think it's really, frankly, disgusting that we are sanctioning this country right now during the pandemic and the disastrous consequences this is having on the working people and the most vulnerable and marginalized within Venezuela. So it's a start by Trump, but he needs to go a lot further. He's obviously not going to say that. He has a very retrograde and reactive foreign policy. He supported the, Iraq War. He supported the, war in Libya, and all of these other horrible foreign policy positions. And I think he's actually to the right of Trump on the issue of North Korea as well. So again, not telling you how to vote, but for myself, I live in a comfortably blue state, so I don't have any hesitation, like I said, for not voting or for voting for a third party like the Green Party or the Socialist Party or whatever, a party that's actually, you know, Joe Biden still doesn't support Medicare for all during a fucking pandemic. He said, during that interview, maybe it was 60 Minutes, doesn't really matter, but if somehow, Medicare for all passed the House and the Senate, he would veto that shit. This is during a fucking pandemic. I mean, Jesus Christ, again, not telling people how to vote, but I could not in good conscience ever cast a ballot for Joe Biden for his horrible, foreign policy record and what he's calling for now. Because again, stuff that happens, injustices that the United States government and our military and State Department commits overseas, that our tax dollars are going to pay for that. I'm not going to support somebody who wants to, brutalize vulnerable and marginalized groups in other countries, and I don't want to support somebody that wants to do that here in the US either. So, peace, much love.